Welcome to Straight Up Math, a channel where I deliver a math concept as simple as possible. If you'd like to try similar problems seen in the video, I've included a link to practice problems in the description below. When you practice, be sure to check your answers. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask them in the comments section. If you like my video, please subscribe to my channel and send me suggestions on other problems you'd like to see. In this video, we're going to reduce fractions. So to reduce fractions, we look at the top and bottom number, and we try to think in our head what would go into both of those numbers. So if I look at 5 and 10, I know that 5 goes into both of those numbers. And once you pick out that number, then you just divide the top by that number and divide the bottom by that number. So when I get 5 divided by 5, that is 1. When I get 10 divided by 5, that is 2. And so 5/10 reduces down to 1/2. So let's look at this one, 18 and 20. Now I'm going to really stress the fact that when you divide out this number here, it needs to be the same for the top and the bottom. For example, 18 I know is divisible by 9, and 20 I know is divisible by 10. But it's got to be the same number. I can't just use one number on the top and a different number on the bottom. It's got to be the same number. So looking at these, 18 and 20, well, these guys are both even, so I am going to divide by 2 on both of these. Divide by 2 there, divide by 2 there, and then we'll see what happens. 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. And then I always double check to make sure I can't go any further, and there's nothing that 9 and 10 would have in common that I could divide both of them by. All right, 24 and 32. Now with 24 and 32, I am going to just scoot this down here a little bit, and I'm actually going to make a list of all the numbers that go into 24 and all the numbers that go into 32. And so if I were to make a list of all the numbers that go into 24, 1 times 24 works. 2 times 12 works, 3 times 8 works, and 4 times 6 works. And I had to crunch them in there. So I'm going to put commas in between all those. All right, so those are all my numbers that go into 24. Now let's do the numbers that go into 32. 1 and 32. 2 and 16. 3 doesn't. 4 does. 4 times 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so that's it. So I'm just going to take these guys and scoot them over here. All right. And so what I want to do is, if you can't do this in your head, some people can pick out the highest number, the highest factor that goes into both of these in their head. Sometimes I have to write them out. So I'm looking at this, and these two sets of numbers have, you know, the ones. We never use the ones, but 2 we could use. Oh, I don't want that thick. 2, 4 would be good. We could use that. We could use 8. And that's it. And you want to do the highest one. So I'm just going to do the highest one, which is 8. And we'll reduce this. 24 divided by 8 is 3. And 32 divided by 8 is 4. Now don't worry, if you pick one of these smaller ones and you go ahead and do this, you'll end up with a fraction. Well, let me show you what happens. If I went 24 divided by 32, and I was like, oh, I'm going to pick 4. I know 4 goes into both of these. Now 4 isn't the greatest one, but it is one that they have in common. So if I go 24 divided by 4, that's 6. And if I go 32 divided by 4, that's 8. What happens is, if you don't choose the largest one, you end up with a fraction that you can still reduce. So, you know, what does 6 and 8 have in common? Well, they both are divisible by 2, so I will just do a 2 here and a 2 here. And I've got 6 divided by 2 is 3, 8 divided by 2 is 4. So it's not the end of the world if you don't pick the largest number, because you just have one more step to your problem. If you pick the largest number, you only have one step. And just notice that if you don't pick the largest number, like we picked 4, that the two numbers that I did use, if I were to multiply those together, they ended up being that 8. So not a big deal. But anyways, when I reduced this fraction using either way here, I had 3/4. Visit our website to practice more problems like the ones you saw in the video. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share.